Eric. Hello, Dutch. As you debuted in Georgia under Booker Ray Gunkel, could you explain what happened in the Georgia wrestling wars after Ray died and Ann took over? How did she end up in a promotional war with Bill Watts and the NWA? And how did Jim Barnett sway the war in NWA's favor?
That's a lot to pack in. All right, I started in Atlanta. That was my first territory I ever went to. Ray Gunkel was the owner of the territory, and his wife was named, what was her name? Ann Gunkel. And I never met Ray Gunkel till the night he died. I knew he was the owner of the company. I never met him though. He never came around. He had the booker named Tom Ernesto, who was one of the assassins. And I just saw wrestlers. And then one night we drove to Savannah. Ox Baker was there, had the Hart punch, and he hit him with the Hart punch. They carted him out. He went to the dressing room. He was fine, took a shower. He was sitting down getting dressed. Bonk, heart attack. He fell over. He's dead. So now that he's dead, when the cat's away, the mice will play. So and he was one of the owners. So when he died, I think a lot of the other owners conspired to push Ann out and take over what Ray had. And so when she found out what they were trying to do, well, she pulled away from them and started her own company. So that's how Gunkel Enterprises started. And of course, people listening to this, they don't know what I'm talking about. But it was like somebody pulled in the old territorial days. It was like somebody pulled out of the NWA, started their own company, and started fighting the NWA head up. So, and that went on for 2 years. So, and then finally, I think some people were paid off, and I think they made a deal with Ann, and Ann closed her company up, and business was back to normal.
What's Jim Barnett got to do with all of this then?
Jim Barnett was in Australia in the late 70s, I think. No, I'm sorry. He was 60s. In late 60s. And he made a ton of money. And he had finished up in Australia, and I don't know what year it was, but he was looking to get back into the wrestling business in the United States. He didn't know where. So when this happened with Ann Gunkel's company is in Atlanta, and he liked Atlanta because it was a big metropolitan city, and he liked all that stuff. So he talked to some of the guys who were trying to do the overthrow, or the takeover, I'll say, not the overthrow. And he put money in it, and that's how he entered back into the politics of it. Later on, after WWF kind of took over everything, Barnett was given a position or a job in WWF. I don't know what he did. It could have just been just a job just to have something to do. I don't think he had any power whatsoever, but I think Vince liked him. Vince Sr. liked him, and then Vince Jr. liked him. Now, of course, he's passed away now, but he was an odd performer. He was gay, and he had all the gay mannerisms, and he didn't care. He would say things like, "Oh, Dutch, I love your behind," or something like that. And he'd say it in front of a bunch of guys, and they'd look at me. They say, "Well, you little bastard." But he always treated me good, always good to me, and always nice to me, and very respectful. So I never saw him mad. There may have been a few guys that get mad about him, mad at him, but I never did. He's from Ohio, Barnett, and somehow he got into promoting with one of the old time promoters in Ohio, and then the Ohio promoter got him into Australia, where he booked, and he owned the company too, a part of the company, and he made a fortune. He used guys like Abdullah and Mark, what's his name? Can't remember his
Lewin.
name. Mark Lewin and another big Hawaiian guy.
King Curtis.
Yep, you know more about it than I do. But the reason it worked in Australia, it was brand new. This was like the carnival coming to town. You know, you go out there and you see Big Abdullah, you think he's from the Sudan. I got a story about him in a second. And then you got King Curtis coming out there, and he's that crazy. They had never seen people, not even on TV, like this. Then they put them on TV. Now they got over more. So they were selling out everywhere in Australia before he sold it.
Do you remember any particular tricks and Gunkel and the NWA would play on each other to sort of mess with each other's business?
They would change their dates. You know, they would book buildings with no intention of running them, but that kept the other, if they went to check on the building, they would have like a Saturday night or something like that. And then it was past the time. I mean, they would actually book the building, but not, they just paid like a down deposit. And of course, the deposit you could get back. But that means on, say, Saturday the 14th, if you paid the deposit, well, that day belonged to you. Now I want to go and I want to get it. And they say, well, it's, you know, the other bunch booked the 14th. God damn it. And then I'd have to go look somewhere else. But that takes time. And they would just wanted to block me out of this building at a certain day. They would do that. But by and large, it was pretty civil, I would say. We would actually run into each other at Channel 17 in Atlanta, the superstation. We would actually run into each other. They would, we would wrestle in the afternoons, and they would wrestle in the mornings. And they used the same ring for both companies. And they was like 2 hours between the dates of the time. And sometimes we'd get there a little early and they'd be a little late leaving. We'd run into them and we'd say, hey, how you doing? Blah, 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 and take off. And there was no really animosity, but, you know, the guys especially, because we was all trying to make a living. There was animosity between the office. That's what they were. That's where the heat was.